Bobby, she is in the middle of a blizzard right now, and I'm not.
You're being mean, Joe.
I'm not being mean. I'm
Well,
the mean.
I am in the middle of a blizzard, but I know that in just a couple of days, in fact, the next time that I record, I expect to be in Florida, in the
See, and
Orlando area.
now you're rubbing it in. Now here it comes because it gets down to like it was 33 or 34 this morning here, so no blizzard, but it gets fairly cold where I am. So now you're going to rub salt in the wound.
Well, we're not going to be in South Florida. We're actually going to be in the Orlando area in Kissimmee, where we're going to stay at a resort. We rented a house for a little bit over a month. So we're really excited. We're going to be living at work down in Florida, living at school, as we like to say. So my son is going to be remote learning, and most of what I do is remote. So off we go. We're going to be driving down there. So we're safe, not getting on any public transportation. And we're going to drive down there. Anyone in our audience that has advice for me on where, I think we're going to stop in Fayetteville in North Carolina.
Fayetteville, North Carolina?
Yeah.
Yep.
We're trying to be organized. We got some tips last time we were on. So we're going to drive in 2 days down to the Orlando area, leaving Saturday morning. So yeah, so we're blizzarding right now, but my hope is that by Saturday morning, we'll have cleaned out enough that we can get out of New York City and head south until February, basically. So I'm excited for that because I've always wanted to do that. People don't necessarily know this, but I'm always talking about Florida, even before the pandemic and even before this blizzard. So
I got to tell you, when I lived in Michigan, I never thought that seasonal affective disorder was really a thing for me. And it totally was. And just going to Florida for a week, I would spend a week visiting clients that were in Florida every winter. And just that 1 week, Bobby, just a week, getting some sun totally changed my outlook. Totally changed it.
Yeah, I'm having, especially this year, because we're home so much, and we're not just home ourselves. In my case, I'm home. I have a family of 5 plus Waffles, the dog, and it's really hard. I mean, last night I was trying to go to sleep. My husband has international clients, so he's literally in our bedroom at my desk, which is now his desk, working. And I'm feeling really bad for him because the poor guy's working till 11 o'clock at night. And I'm sitting there trying to go to sleep because we get up relatively early to do this show. And it's a lot. It's really a lot. And it gets dark at 4:25 these days in New York. So that's also really hard because you feel like there's no daytime. There's no daylight.
Yeah. Even here, and we're considerably south of you, 5:15, 5:30, it's getting dark now. Of course, the 21st is the longest or shortest day of the year. So we're getting close to that. So we're 4 days away.
Yes, Rebecca, Waffles is going to Florida. And it's interesting, Rebecca, we got a car seat for Waffles. So we bought a new dog. There's dog car seats, and it's kind of like a baby car seat where the whole car seat straps into the seatbelt. And then there's also like a harness to make sure that the dog is safe as well. She might get an upset stomach, though. She is not good in the car. I don't think she's ever traveled more than an hour with us, and it generally doesn't go well.
Oh,
so we'll see how poor little Waffles does. We'll see.
Cooper, who's sitting right over here, our cat, has driven twice, Texas to Michigan 2 years ago, and then Michigan to Texas now. And he is like the traveler. As long as you keep moving, the second you pull off the highway, like he gets all nervous and you stop, go. He doesn't like that. But if you're on the highway, he's a fantastic little traveler. By the way, speaking of animals, I'm going to have something on my Twitter feed today that is pretty unbelievable. It's a video from this woman, and this happened in the last couple of days. This was in the Miami Herald, and at 4:30 in the morning, she woke up because something was in her Christmas tree, and she was sure that a cat came in through the cat door, but it wasn't a cat. There's something in her Christmas tree, and you get to kind of watch the video with her because she videos the whole thing while she's trying to get it out. And then about halfway through the video, she goes, "Oh my God, that's not a cat. What the hell is it?" She has no idea what is in her Christmas tree. It's great. I'm not going to tell you what's in it, but it's a compelling homemade video that's a nightmare.
Okay.
Yeah. Not good.
Yeah, Greg, I like your retirement plan. That sounds good to me. And we'll try. We'll see about Savannah. We can't get there in terms of the overnight because that's just going to be too far to get to Georgia, I think, especially because I expect us to get a slow start because New York roads might be very slow, even Saturday. Our mayor here in New York does not have a great track record of cleaning out the Upper East Side. He doesn't like us very much. So the streets are often not plowed up here.
Guys, I'm gonna tweet really fast that we are live.
Oh, I should do that too.
And then we'll get going.
Okay. I'm going to do that too.
Okay. It's weird because I changed the headline, but the headline I'm seeing on YouTube is still the old one.
Well, I see the correct headline on Twitter. It says that we can review show on Twitter.
Yeah. YouTube still has the Fed meeting now.
Okay, YouTube people just ignore the headline. I don't know how to fix that.
I don't know how to fix it either.
Okay.
All right.
Maybe after the fact we can change it. Peter on YouTube, Chris, just ignore that headline. That was the show. That show's being released today. So after this, go listen to the audio show about the Fed. There's a big tangent in the show. Very interesting.
There is
they just go way off. They go way off topic. Just saying,
Yeah.
There's not a lot of like laser focus in that show, but some great points are made.
Peter was here yesterday. He was here with Adam and I as we went off on tangents. That's why Adam Carroll's one of my favorite people. Just too fun. All right. We ready to do this?
Let's do it.
All right. This is the week in review for December 19th. Hold on a second. Wait, got to get this up here for Ethan. And did you see they changed this? Check this out, Bobby.
I know there's more choices now. More choices of how to set up the screen.
So how do we flip those? Anyway, all right, enough playing. Here we go. Whenever you're ready.
All right. Welcome to the weekend show where we look back at the highlights of the week that was and get you ready for the week to come. Plus, we take your questions about, anything reasonable that you want to ask us. It is Saturday, December 19th. Let's talk money with our friends. Welcome to the Money with Friends podcast. I'm certified financial planner, Bobby Rebel, coming to you from my very grown-up kitchen in New York City.
And coming to you from my mom's half-finished basement in Texarkana, Texas, where we make the Stacky Benjamin Show, I'm Joe Saul-Sehy.
Here on Money with Friends, every weekday we share the latest headlines, why they matter, and specific ideas and advice for your financial life. And on the weekends, we share highlights, preview the week ahead, and answer your questions.
It was a heck of a week this week, Bobby. Rolling through the holiday season. How's your holiday season been so far?
Well, Joe, we've been talking a lot about seasonal. I know it's SAD, sad, but seasonal, is it affected disorder? What's that called?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of that. Let's just get real. Yeah. Although, look, we did celebrate Hanukkah. We did light the menorah, and that's been enjoyable and somewhat of a ritual routine. So that's always good. But I don't know. How about you?
It's been strange with my kids being away, my son in Seattle and my daughter in Japan. It's been I can't say it's been quiet because mom's been working on the house, as you know, and between paint fumes and dust all over the place, it's been more construction season than holiday season here.
You've been inhaling a lot lot of fumes, so we'll see how coherent you are for the show,
yes.
Joe.
If I say wacky stuff on this one, it's not my fault, people. But we got a great week that we just happened. Let's review it, go over all the big ahas we had this week. Let's see which one of our friends is going to help us kick off today's show. All right. On Monday, Bobby, what were we talking about on Monday?
We talked about holiday bonuses, and that's something that a lot of people were surprised to hear actually are happening, but they're happening in a very surprising way, very strategic way. I think it's sort of a way to keep the workers that you need to keep if you can afford it. And they're really prioritizing it because for certain industries, they really need to.
Yeah, this is a topic that has come up over and over and over since Monday's episode. Like, I have talked to so many people about the fact that it is so difficult to bring a new person up to speed, right? And I think that employers forget that when they think about, I have this employee and the employee might go away, or I'm going to go a little cheap this year because I don't have a lot of money. Like, especially in a year like this year, when employers are hanging on tight and trying so hard to just stay in business, holding on to your people right now, more important than ever. And when you look at the numbers, doing a little bit more to hold on to your person makes so much economic sense versus trying to hire somebody new later.
Yeah, it just would be like another thing to deal with. So, yeah, reward the people that you work with so that they stay with you.
Absolutely. Episodes on Tuesday and Wednesday. Then we were talking holiday season.
Yeah, we had Amy E. Goodman, who is a lifestyle and shopping expert that many of you see not only on Kelly and Ryan Live and all of the morning shows, but I am a huge fan of her Reels, which is part of Instagram. She does the funniest videos with her kids and her husband and really entertaining stuff. On Tuesday, we talked about gift card scammers. It was the story that Amy found, and they were really using the coronavirus pandemic to their advantage because it gave them an excuse not to meet people in person. So they were able to scam people. And you have to listen to the episode because it's a little bit convoluted how they tricked people into getting money from them using gift cards. But it was fascinating how they're kind of amplifying their MO because of the coronavirus. And then on Wednesday, we talked about how to know when it was okay to splurge. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, just on Tuesday, before we pivot to Wednesday, last year, we had a writer from the Detroit, one of the Detroit papers on, Susan Tompor, on Stacking Benjamins, talking about scams. And when Amy was talking about the scams this year, it's like last year's scams where all they did was they pretended like there was an email from your boss. And the boss, knowing that last year some companies were already remote, probably a lot more companies now remote, right? Email from your boss saying, hey, I need you to get us some gift cards for holiday people. I'll reimburse you later. And then people would fall for it. They get gift cards. They'd send them this email that look a lot. And we've heard about scams like this before. These where it looks like your boss's email address, but one letter's off, one little tiny thing's off. And if you don't look quickly, she actually told a story about a woman in the Detroit area who bought gift cards for like 85 people using her own money. And her boss was going to reimburse her for holiday gifts and sent them off to a scammer. Yeah, but man, talking about, you're right. The scams they're using now make that looks like child's play. The ones Amy's talking about are just, you really have to be vigilant, don't you?
Vigilant. Yes, you do.
Yes. Did I say, I said vigilant, didn't I? Vigilant is where you
it's
live.
It's early, Joe. You've been inhaling a lot of fumes.
Vigilant is where you live in the village. You had to be a vigilant. Mm-hmm. I don't know. All right. And on Wednesday, you were saying?
Oh, so we talked about how to know when it's okay to splurge on luxury. And it was interesting because this was an opinion piece and the tone was very much against splurging. But the truth is a lot of people do have money saved up. And I think that if that's something that you want to do, that's okay. I think you just have to be able to afford it.
Yeah. I think, if you're lucky enough to have a job right now, you probably have been tightening the belt to some degree. And this time of year, when there are so many deals out there, like as long as it doesn't break the budget, right? What's that phrase? Spend lavishly on the things that you love and then ruthlessly cut everything that you don't. If you love it, why wouldn't you do it?
And it's very personal. One of the examples that the author gave was that a lot of people were going out and buying campers. Well, when, in reality, maybe after this season of our life, they might not use it. Maybe they should rent it. Well, Amy pointed out that her family had one even before the pandemic and they've used it a lot. So it just depends on knowing yourself and knowing what will be of value to you versus what is sort of a passing season of your life.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
and also remember something like that, you may not be able to rent the one that you want because of demand these days. And you may be able to just sell it if you don't want it after the season. And maybe you lose a little money on it, but that's okay because you wanted it at the time and could afford it.
Gregory hanging out with us says we just found the new tagline for the show. It's early, Joe. You've been inhaling a lot of fumes or fumes. See, I can't even say fumes. The that's what's going to make the show. Finally, I was going to say, let's see what fumes Joe's been inhaling. That's not good. We then Adam Carroll joined me on Thursday, and he and I, Bobby, went through a discussion about the Fed meeting, which happened this Thursday, and everyone expected, and it came true on Thursday, the market to react negatively to the fact that the Fed did exactly what it said it was going to do. And we went through, if everybody expected it, and interest rates are going to remain low, why would the market be negative? But even more than that, just backing off that a little bit, so many people see these headlines and they go, what does a Fed meeting even mean to me in the first place? Like, what does a dovish Fed mean? What the heck? Who cares? And so I thought Adam did a really nice job of walking through what that means for your mortgages. We talked about credit cards, about car loans. Whenever you're borrowing money, it really matters. So just, even though still 80% of it you don't need to pay attention to, being able to catch the headline, skim for what they're talking about, and staying on top of it is easier than people think.
Yeah. And you have to pay attention also when they do something unexpected. So, a couple of years ago, they started raising rates, and that can have a huge impact, not just on the interest rate that you might pay for something like a mortgage, but also on the prices for things like houses, because everything is reactive to those interest rates. Prices tend to get higher when people can afford more. So it does matter, and it does affect everybody. And the flip side that I was really happy you guys talked about is that even though generally people think, oh, low interest rates are so great, there's a lot of people that really suffer when you have low interest rates because it does affect the COLA, the cost of living allowance, and it also affects, just all the interest that's paid on things like savings and CDs that especially older people might really need to get reliable and safe interest on their money, where they don't want to take the risk of being in the stock market, but they want to get some return. It's tough.
Yeah.
When rates are this low, there's just not a lot out there.
No, and it's funny. I'm glad you brought that up, and we didn't dive that much into that topic, which is, this is a season because rates are so low that people start chasing yields, right? And they hear these things about these interest rates that they can get on investments, and they don't pay attention to the risk. So talk about scams. That's not necessarily a scam, but people lose money because they get tricked into thinking that something that pays 5 or 6% is really safe when it might not be.
Exactly. There's usually a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. On Friday, Adam and I pivoted to a topic near and dear to his heart. Of course, his documentary, Broke, Busted, and Disgusted, was on CNBC, and it was about the student loan crisis, which is still continuing today, sadly, even though that documentary originally came out a few years ago. He shone the light on a piece that talked about the amounts of student loan debt people have at different ages, at 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. And while some of the numbers for younger people were horrible, man, when you got up, Bobby, to people that were 40 years old, 50 years old, and 60 years old with with student loan debt, there's some ugly numbers out there for older people.
Yeah, I remember talking to a coworker who had kids that were applying to college back at Reuters, and he was like, I'm almost done paying off my student debt. And as a society, there's something wrong with that when you get to middle age and you have student debt. That's just, to me, that says that schools are pricing tuition too high, and that we have to figure out a better way, because it shouldn't cost that much. I mean, I think you gave an example of somebody that had $120,000 in student loan debt from an undergraduate degree. Why are we saddling this next generation with so much debt? And why have tuitions risen so much faster than inflation over the last few years? I mean, college was expensive when you and I went. Right now, look, my stepson is he's a junior, going remotely to NYU, and we pay for it, but it is crippling, the amount of tuition. I think You can look it up, but it's something over 70 grand without tuition,
Yeah.
without
Oh,
housing. It's a public number. I'm telling everybody, without housing and without food.
yeah.
So, we pay separately for his food and his apartment off campus with roommates. But I just don't see how anyone would be able to afford even. It's crippling for us. And I think that who would borrow that kind of money? I mean, how could you do that? It's overwhelming. I can't even, you understand. I'm just losing my train of thought, even just processing it.
Sure.
And we're the fortunate that we're able to, plan and save and all that stuff, but it's not right. It's not right.
But I love Adam's point that, schools talk so much, high schools talk so much about how many people go to college. And in my high school, which was a college prep, Catholic school, it was not just going to a college, it was going to the right college. And I remember a lot of pressure on not going to this college, but going to that college. And definitely not like where you live, where there's a lot more pressure. Some of these college prep places on the East Coast, super pressure to get into an Ivy League school. Ours was just the difference between University of Michigan and Michigan State. You didn't want to go to Michigan State, the place I went, which, by the way, infinitely cooler than University of Michigan.
Very good school. Okay.
Infinitely cooler too, way better than those losers in Ann Arbor. But but in my school, it was, you need to go to the University of Michigan. And when you look at the reputation of those two schools, though, Michigan State, like you said, a fine school, but known as, a big, solid college. Michigan, a little more prestigious. And so Michigan was kind of the bottom rung. My high school wanted you to go to, and then go north from there. And and I don't know, when you've got kids that when you've got kids that are in that pressure situation every day. I didn't know what the cost was, Bobby. I didn't pay any attention to that till I had to pay for my own college starting in year number 3 of school. Before I got to that point, though, it was just the dream in the name. So if somebody likes the dream in the name of NYU, then they'll do what it takes. And I know we have a relative, not to get too far off track, but we have a relative who sat at breakfast with us once. His son is in film studies, and is but it's not just film studies. It's like history of film studies. So looking back at historical films, where the only thing you can really do with that degree, for the most part, to my knowledge, is to become a professor teaching other people about that,
which would
right?
require a master's and possibly a PhD to be a professor right now in academia.
Exactly. Right. Right. So that's a degree that's going to be more money. And we kind of just intimated, not being rude, just kind of intimated that degree is going to be difficult. And he said, my job as a parent is to support my kid, which I would kind of argue with that. I think your job as a parent is to support your kid, but also to say, here's the economic reality of this decision. Are you okay with that? If you're okay with that, then fantastic. My daughter and I had that discussion, and she decided to go with the lower paying job. But she told me, she goes, Dad, I know I'm gonna have to work my butt off. I know people in this career don't make a lot of money. I know that it's going to be a lot of people chasing the same stuff. I love it. And that's what I want to do. Great. Go in with your eyes open.
I think going in with your eyes open is key. Look, my stepdaughter, who's 24 now and doing wonderful in a cybersecurity consulting job, originally wanted to be a teacher. And I think she looked at the economics and the kind of life she wanted to lead. And also she's really good at it, and just decided to switch tracks and get into the informatics school at Indiana. She did great and really got basically the best job she could, a phenomenal job. And she really enjoys her work, and she enjoys the feeling of accomplishment that she is working towards a lot of financial independence too. But she changed her mind looking at the economics once she was in college and started thinking forward. How is this going to play out?
Yeah. Yeah. We've got a lot of discussion here about this topic. We obviously hit a hot button. We hit a hot button. If people go back and listen to the episode, you'll hear a lot of hot button. But Rebecca hanging out with us says everyone needs to find the place right for them, whatever college or even no college. And this is the thing, the emphasis on college at all, which I'll get to here in a second. Peter says, I went to community college for 2 years, then transferred to a state college for the last 2 years, which really helped to reduce cost. Adrian remarks, remarks that we need to promote community college as a way to do all the general education classes. It's more affordable, provides the same value, state college, then go to state college for your junior, senior year. I'll say this, I really liked what Adam came down with, which is that we need to promote kids going into the thing that is most suitable, right? And right now, and this is a topic you can hear more if you listen to the episode, there are people working on my house right now, and there's a lot of money in the things these people are doing. There's also a lot of value in the thing these people are doing. There's a lot of creativity in what these people are doing out in my house. And so having people kind of feeling like pressured to go into college when really there's a lot of opportunity outside of that is doing a lot of pigeonholing. So you can see people got pretty excited about that.
This is a really active audience here. And Adrian, by the way, is pointing out the trades pay well.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In just a moment, Bobby and I will preview the week to come. Man, do we have a fun week to come. So you want to make sure you stick around for that. But first, yesterday, I'm not going to spend as much time today as I did yesterday talking about MetPro, Bobby. But big thanks to MetPro for sponsoring the show. I was thrilled that they do, because this is the group that I use for diet and exercise. MetPro stands for metabolic profiling. So instead of a fad diet, Angelo Poli, the founder, is a guy that I've talked to many times. No fad diets, no thing of the month right now, right? Everybody's big into intermittent fasting. And Angelo says, listen, there's nothing wrong with intermittent fasting except, and then he starts railing off some of the potential issues that people can have with that. And he has gone back with me through time and all these different things. He said, here's what's a better idea. Learn that food is a fuel. Learn what that fuel does to you and pay attention to your metabolism. And so during the pandemic year, I started late October, early November last year, and immediately went from about 205 down to 190, 192 within eight weeks, probably. But then deep into holiday season, I didn't lose any weight, but I maintained at a time that Angelo and the people at MetPro told me people usually gain between 7 and 12 pounds during that time period. A lot of people gaining a lot of weight during the holidays, right? Eating the wrong thing, drinking a lot. I maintained my weight. And then, as you know, when COVID hit, everybody talks about the COVID-19, Bobby. During that time, I also traveled. And so my opportunity to eat the wrong thing happened all year long. I maintained that 190 to 192 all the way through that, which is where I still am today. Would I like to lose more? Yes. But given the events of this year, the fact that I'm sitting right now where I was a year ago says a lot about my relationship with them. So I use their concierge program. I got this coach named Jesse, who's a pain in my butt. Jesse is fantastic, but Jesse questions me all the time, and in the best possible way. Now they also have an app for people that don't want the cost of the concierge service, but want a lot of those same benefits right on your phone. It's a MetPro app. It is not an app, by the way, where you're just putting in your foods or your tracking. It's an app. It's a coaching app. So it's not going to be a lot like a lot of the popular apps out there. This app is actually all about coaching you to learn to pay attention to your metabolism. So if you're looking for a high touch experience, either working with a metabolic expert, or you want to get those same tools that their industry leading coaches use, visit metpro.co. It's not .com, it's metpro.co/MWF. You'll take their assessment. You can speak to their team and learn about which option's right for you. You're also going to get 1 month free when you sign up using our link. It's metpro.co/MWF. Absolutely. Absolutely love it. There are times when I hate it, but I always appreciate it later.
No comment from me here in the COVID-19 gaining weight category. Yeah.
Let's talk about
I'll
next
work
week.
up to it.
You and I kicking off the week next week, talking about travel. Man,
Yes.
do we have travel conundrums for 2021?
Yeah.
Do you cancel the trip? Do you rebook the trip? What do you do?
I remember back in March when I had to cancel just day ahead. I was going to go to Palm Springs to visit my dad and stepmother. And the woman said to me, well, we're offering free rescheduling, but you just have to use it within a year. And I was like, oh, of course. I'm like, I'll just go in a month or something.
Yeah.
I was like laughing about that. I'm like, oh, that's not even an issue. And here we are. It's not happening within a year. Like, that's the funniest thing. It's not funny, but you know what I mean? Like, it was so unpredictable. I was like, why bother even trying to get cash? I know I'm going to use the tickets. My dad is out in Palm Springs. I know I'm just going to reschedule this for a couple weeks later. No big deal. And here we are. I don't know.
We had to cancel our trip to Japan in March. Luckily, went with the full refund option, which Delta was offering at that time. And by the way, no questions asked, which was great. And then second, just now, we were hoping, I bought last year for Valentine's Day, I got Cheryl a nice stay for us in Quebec, just the winter wonderland, right? Have some fun up enjoying Quebec. And I thought, like you said, well, that was even pre-COVID, right? But even when COVID hit, we're like, yeah, we'll still be able to go to Canada. Yeah, that's not happening now. So we're pushing that 1 year, hopefully 2022. I'll be able to do that for Valentine's Day. And then the Japan trip that we canceled, we were going to go this March. Now we're looking at this October. But even this October, Bobby, who the heck knows? I was talking to Diana Miriam, the person who runs the Economy Conference, about speaking at that conference. And that is in August. Cincinnati in August? Who knows?
Yeah, we really don't know.
Yeah. Tuesday, though, you're with a guy that maybe one or two of our fans have heard of.
David Bach. Yes. He will be coming to us from Florence, Italy, where he is enjoying, it was supposed to be a 1-year sabbatical. And now, as things change, of course, it's an ongoing sabbatical. And I just love that he did this. I love that he kind of has the courage to just take a break from all the things he was doing, pack up from New York and just move to Italy. And he sort of set up an amazing life there. And I'm excited to get an update on how he's doing. He had a little health blip, so he missed the last recordings, and I'm so happy he'll be back. And we'll get an update. And I will, of course, as we know, be in Florida recording that.
I think, by the way, for people just joining in, I think Bobby's told me that 57 times since she and I started setting up for today's recording.
I'm looking outside at the blizzard that is New York City right now. We're getting 6 to 12 inches. We're getting more snow today than the entire season, the entire winter of last year, according to the weather experts, the
You're just hoping you can get out of there. What if you can't get out? What if you're trapped? I shouldn't say that.
Well, we're leaving on Saturday. So, and we're recording this on Thursday.
Next is on later in the week, Bola on Thursday is going to join us. Bola Succumbi from Clever Girl Finance. You're seeing her all over the place, just all over the place because of her new book, which is all about investing 101. And she's been helping us with investing. So I'm sure we're going to talk investing on Thursday. Then starting Friday of next week, we go into special season mode where, Bobby, you and I are going to run down some of the biggest moments of the year that was this year. And oh my goodness, did we have a lot of, narrowing this to 6 shows is going to be incredibly interesting.
Yeah, this was definitely a year that if we had predicted it at this time last year, we would have been 100% wrong. In fact, maybe we did I'll have to look back if we did do a predictions show. That would be really funny because I know everything would be wrong because so much of this is just, I remember when coronavirus started and we did a few shows on it and we were saying, well, should we keep doing this? Is it really going to be? And we were so wrong. We were so wrong. So wrong.
On the economic data front next week, as you would expect, guys, there's not that much on Monday. Nothing big day today. I guess if we had to point to one day, Bobby, a big day today is Tuesday. Gross domestic product. What did we make? Gross domestic product, of course, is a big number that a lot of people point to. So Tuesday might be a big day. Wednesday, durable good orders. That's kind of big. Housing prices will come out. Only 3 companies, though, with earnings, and CarMax and Cintas are included. That CarMax, used car sales could be an interesting thing, but nothing else. Very, very light week as you'd expect for the holiday season. I think that's going to do it, right? Do we have anything else to do? We have a question.
We have a listener question.
Yes.
It's from Frugacity Finance. The question is, any benefit to contributing to a 401k after the tax benefit, after maxing out the pre-tax benefit on a after-tax basis, after maxing the pre-tax basis? The answer is yes. Should we elaborate?
Yes.
Let's elaborate.
Well, actually, it's funny that you say that. That's actually funny that you say that, because I kind of think no. So this will be good too.
Okay. So first let's talk about like just the factual stuff, and then we'll give our opinion on it. So yes, you can, I guess, is first that you can do this. You can make, and it's also your employer can allow you to do this. Not everyone may allow this, but you can make an after-tax contribution and you can invest more. It'll give you the potential of tax deferred growth. The government will always get their tax. So if you earn money, even if you put in after-tax money into the 401k, you're going to eventually pay tax on those earnings in the 401k, which is a little bit different from the Roth, but that's a different question. What you can do though, is you could then convert it to the Roth, and then you wouldn't have to do that stuff. So it's complicated. But if you were to put it into a Roth, which maybe that's where Joe's going to go with this, you could just put it into a Roth, and that could be distributed tax-free as long as you meet the conditions that we all know about, which is that you have to be over age 59 and a half, and you have to have 5 years in it. So,
yeah, doing after-tax contributions generally is something that I dislike, because if you don't remove that money by the end of the year and it stays there, you're creating all kinds of tax accounting problems for yourself. Because after-tax money, when it earns money, when you're rolling it over later, you have to separate what's after tax from what's pre-tax, so you can decide what the tax burden is going to be. And we have seen problems where the whole thing then gets declared after tax because you did a bad job. So you got all this pre-tax money. The government now calls after tax because you didn't keep the right records. So number one, for most people, I wouldn't do it unless you're going to do, Bobby, what you're talking about, this backdoor Roth IRA idea, where it grows after tax and then you flip it over into a Roth. And to be able to do that, you have to be able to get at that money. So you have to be able to have something called an in-service withdrawal feature to be able to do that. If you don't have in-service withdrawal available at your 401k, I wouldn't mess with after-tax money. Now, there is a way, Bobby, that you referenced that you can do after tax, which is the Roth option, right? Because that will be after tax. If your 401k has the Roth option, you can toggle to that, do that. But never, ever, 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 unless you know the convoluted way Bobby's talking about to do the backdoor Roth, never, ever, ever do after tax. It just creates a big headache. It's
within the 401k, right? You can do after tax in an IRA. You know, you can contribute to an IRA after tax, which is going to do what you want to do anyway.
Yeah, but if you're going to do that, once again, turn it into Roth, because it's just going to create a pain in the butt to be able to keep track of the accounting on that thing. Well,
there are income limits though, so you also have to check that out.
Agreed. So. Which is why you would do the after tax and then turn it into a Roth. But make sure, man, if you've got after tax money, do it that year. Change it over to the Roth that year. Yeah.
Yeah. And always when you're talking about tax strategies, make sure that you don't pay so much attention to taxes that you make the wrong investing decisions. Sometimes people think of things backwards. I'd rather make more money and pay the taxes on it than get so convoluted in the weeds of all of this that I start not focusing on what is the best place to invest my money. And so you should pay attention to that.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. Gregory also brought that up, Bobby. He says, even if you don't do any of that, still save or invest the money, right? There is this, I don't know, there's this feeling I have, which is much like yours, that a lot of people pay way too much attention to the tax and realize we would rather have Jeff Bezos' tax bill. Like if I could have Bill Gates' tax bill, I would love that. Because you know what that implies? I've got tons of money. Like I've got so much money. So it's not about paying less tax. It's about having more. And often I see people go, well, I'm not going to save any more money because I can't, I maxed out my tax shelter. So I'm done. Well, why?
No. And you can also just have a brokerage account that is for your savings. You can use that for retirement. It doesn't have to be in a retirement vehicle to have money be for retirement. And remember, what's nice about that is that you don't have these restrictions that you have with official retirement accounts. No one says you can't use just general investing accounts for your retirement.
That
We tend to
flexibility is so important.
yeah.
Preach.
And remember,
Bobby.
you're gonna, but even all these things where they're tax sheltered, you're gonna pay the tax on that 401k eventually. Everything comes out eventually. The government will tax it. So it's just a question of the timing, and that's something where you want to balance it. But there's nothing wrong with just investing separate from your 401k and that kind of stuff. 401ks are great because they're protected from creditors, because your employer often matches what you put in, and that really amplifies it because it has barriers. It makes it tougher for you to get to, so you protect yourself from yourself. But there's also nothing wrong with just saving and investing in regular accounts.
Big thanks to everybody hanging out with us today as we make the show. Gregory, Peter, Rebecca, Mike, Adrian, just flipping up through here, John, Tyson, chatty group here today. Thanks for hanging out and for making the show great, making the end of the week great. Bobby and I back here on Monday talking more Money with Friends. We'll see you guys back here then.
Good show, guys.
I was going to do that second one, but then I looked over, we're at 34 and I'm like, we're going to wrap this thing.
But that was a good show.
Hey,
weekend shows are our highest downloads, by the way, guys, generally.
If you guys want to follow us or make sure that you're on when, if you want to make sure that you're on live, especially if you're somebody watching us later, if you want to be on live, here is how to, that's how to subscribe. So hopefully everybody can see that.
Thank you.
If you click that button, that'll automatically take you to the subscribe spot, and you can subscribe and join all the fun. All right. Well, the bad news, Peter, is I can't smell it anymore. So yesterday was awful, and last night was awful. Today I can't smell it. So I don't know if that means that it's still.
But remember,
there.
you had COVID. You might have a smelling issue. People with COVID. No, I'm being totally serious. Like people that had COVID, they lose their sense of smell. So
yes.
Ask Cheryl. You should ask Cheryl if she can smell it.
Yes.
That wasn't a joke. I'm being serious. I'm not the medical professional. Ask Cheryl.
I smelled it all night. I smelled it all night. I smelled it. I think all those senses have been completely overrun. So yes.
Okay.
Yes. If it was COVID, I don't think I would have smelled any of it. All right. We ready to do this?
All right. On this episode of Money with Friends, remember?
Hold on. I haven't even pressed the button, and I got to take a look at what Nathalie sent us. I screwed up. Come on. Sorry. Okay, Monday is going to be Met Pro again. All right, now we're ready. This is for Monday, the 21st.
On this episode of Money with Friends, remember when we used to travel for fun? Should you rebook or just give it all up and cancel? It is Monday, December 21st. Let's talk money with our friends. Welcome to the Money with Friends podcast. I am certified financial planner, Bobby Rebel, host of the Financial Grown Up podcast, coming to you from my very grown up kitchen in New York City.
And coming to you from Texarkana, Texas, where we make the Stacking Benjamin show. I'm Joe Saul-Sehy.
Here on Money with Friends, we talk about the latest personal finance headlines. We get your input from our audience, and then we leave you with a takeaway to make it your own.
What a wild year it was for travel, or lack of travel for most of us. Did you get on a plane after March of last year?
Nope. Came back from, actually, I was with you in Orlando, and we went to a conference together, came back, and that was it.
I'm surprised because that conference happened, what, 2 weeks before everything shut down, Bobby? I'm
Barely.
surprised
I
that
don't know. I would say days.
based on the reports from the organizers, nobody got it. I remember they had sanitizer all over the place. People were trying not to shake hands, which was funny because I would say they were about 2/3 effective. There was a third of the time where you just instinctively reached out your hand and shook, and then you went, oops, yeah, there we go. So not very careful, everybody staying close to each other. And yet nobody reportedly got COVID then. But yeah, I had to fly. I flew 3 times, maybe 4 times, and that was ugly. Every time you got on a plane, not fun. But the
But you
question
canceled a
is,
lot of trips or postponed. I don't know. Did you cancel or did you rebook?
well, yeah, I had one big trip to Japan that was canceled, and we took the money and thought we were going to use that to go to Bali here in December. I was going to be reporting live from Bali right now. Not happening, obviously. So we canceled that one as well. And now we're looking at October of next year. But you too, you had trips canceled.
We had a lot canceled. Well, my son was going on a service trip to New Orleans, and the day before they canceled it, and we got no money back. And I don't know that we ever will. In theory, the travel company, in theory, will give us a credit for some of it, but I don't know that they'll be in business. And the airline was being very difficult, but then eventually said they would give a refund, but I haven't seen any money yet. The school is dealing with that. And we had a trip right when he got back to go to visit my dad and stepmother in Palm Springs, and that's been indefinitely postponed. So
This is
we'll
a
see.
huge issue for 2021, of course, was a huge issue in 2020. We have a piece coming from the New York Times about this that we'll review today. Let's see which one of our friends can help us kick off our discussion.
So this piece was written by Sarah Furshine in the New York Times. The title, The Endless Debate, Cancel or Rebook. Would-be travelers this year have spent hours on hold learning the ins and outs of refund policies. And it talks about the fact that a survey of 1,000 United States consumers by Suzy, which is a market research firm, 60% of respondents said they have canceled at least one trip because of COVID-19. And at Hostiva, a vacation rental company, around 22% of bookings were canceled from February through mid-November. And since March, there's just been a ton of cancellations, sometimes with little notice because of the rising infection rates, the travel restrictions, and of course, the state and local rules. I mean, that's the thing. We've had a period of time, Joe, where certain states were not allowing people from other states to come into their state. So we had this whole thing going on where you didn't know where you could even go. It got really complicated.
It's so frustrating looking at how complicated it is. And it's complicated by 2 things. I mean, number one is some of these companies really don't want to part with your money, right? And who knows, especially for some of the smaller companies, how they're able to do this. But also, it has been a fluid situation where they thought, hey, we'll just push this 6 months, like to your point earlier. But if we can push this 6 months, everybody wins. It's fine. And we'll just hold on. And yet 6 months comes and we're still here. And then 9 months comes and we're still here. So incredibly difficult. What do you do?
It's very difficult. We had a big family trip planned to Israel, and that was just canceled completely. And I don't know that it'll be rescheduled in the same way. I don't know when we'll get out to California at this point, because California, as we record this, is under extremely heavy restrictions. And I'm just happy that my dad and stepmom are at a house isolated because they're older. So a lot of this remains unknown. The question that this piece really brings up is, should you rebook, which is sort of the optimist way, or should you just try to get a refund? But not everyone can get a refund. I mean, that's the tricky thing, is that a lot of the airlines are pushing back. A lot of places are pushing back. And frankly, certainly at the beginning, a lot of places refused to give refunds. And that's a tricky thing, because if you do sign these agreements and you don't have travel insurance, and of course, travel insurance may or may not cover this anyway, you don't have a lot of recourse. And if you're dealing with a small business and you signed something that said it's non-refundable and you were going 2 days later and you can't go, they might keep the money. And I don't know that you really do have recourse.
That's as I read through this piece, I thought that there's no year like this year to get intimate with what the rebooking policies are for these trips. So there's this woman, Wendy Patrick, that they talked to deep in the article. She got a voucher, was told it was a one-time change from American Airlines, which had canceled her in May. A couple months later, things look a little better, so she went to rebook it for November. Of course, that didn't happen. So she got the one-time change again. It was told one time she could use it to change again. So they lifted the restriction, the airline did. But then she found out again that for May 2021, she has another chance. She thought that the second time she wasn't going to, that they were just going to tell her no, she doesn't get her money back. But she said that some companies, this was American Airlines actually, she said was great about canceling it quickly. And I think that you kind of have to go in with that feeling that these companies don't want the negative repercussions of not working with you. And this is a time when social media, I think, in outing those companies that don't want to work with you pays some dividends.
Absolutely, especially the bigger companies and including the companies that want and need government bailouts. We talk about the airlines. Who's transporting this vaccine right now? The airlines, a lot of them. We want them to stay in business. They are part of our infrastructure. Of course, as with every business, some go up, some go down. That's the natural progression of capitalism, but it's not their fault either. And so we want to work with them to all of our mutual benefit. For the small businesses, that gets really tricky. My son, as I said, had this trip planned through this small travel company, relatively small in New Orleans. And they, in theory, gave a credit. At first, they wanted to give a 50% credit. And we were going to have to pay another 50% for the kids to go this year, which again is not going to happen this March, obviously. And then they finally came around to give a full credit. But I don't even know when that is happening. So, because you kind of missed the age. It was a 6th grade trip. So I frankly don't even know if they'll be in business. And to go after them, well, what's the point? I mean, they just had their whole business ripped out from under them. Sure. So I don't know even how they can afford to just to give a full credit. So it depends who you're dealing with. And I think all of us have to have some empathy for whoever's on the other side of the phone.
There's this, there's one level of frustration with, vacations and family trips and family planning, business planning and essential travel for business, I think is super difficult. I mean, and I'll use a personal example. I have a book coming out next fall that we're trying to plan a big tour of the Stacking Benjamin show for the fall between meetups and live shows. So we're looking at 25 cities to go to. That's in September, Bobby. September seems to be kind of who the hell knows? Is that going to happen? Is that not going to happen? What are we safe to plan now? What should we wait for? And it's funny because to some degree, as we're starting to make the early bookings and plan the calendar early, planning early is working in our favor because of the fact that we're getting these great terms out of providers, terms that they normally wouldn't give, because we're telling them, listen, if COVID's still around, then we don't want to come. And by and large, the early providers we're talking to are like, yep, hey, 100% cancellation, no problem. Once again, we have to look at the size of the company and think about whether they're going to be here or not. But we've gotten some great terms by making sure, but we had to go in asking for good terms, right? We couldn't go with the standard operating procedure because who the hell knows what's happening next?
Exactly. So your risk is really limited because they're forced to be so flexible just to get you on their calendar. But absolutely, that's true. But I do think if the vaccine works and things return to normal, which I hate that phrase these days, but if that happens, I think people will be really excited to go to live events and just be social again. I think people will really be enthusiastic.
Yeah, the interesting thing is people are talking now. Sarah's hanging out with us and said they're flying in January and the ticket was super cheap. New booking on Delta. I went and looked at flights yesterday and flights are incredibly cheap right now. So do you book those? And I think maybe we'll leave that for our takeaway, because I think our takeaway will have a lot to do with whether you book that cheap, at least mine will have a lot to do with whether you book that cheap flight or not. In just a second, Bobby and I'll have our takeaway from today's discussion on, do you book? Do you rebook? Do you cancel your plans during 2021, especially the early part? First, want to say a big thanks to everybody who used our link when they went and checked out the place that I go for health and nutrition experts. It's called MetPro. MetPro, short for metabolic profiling. I have a coach. I use their concierge service. My coach is Jessie. Jessie's a pain in the ass. What I really like about Jessie is that she puts the decision-making on me. Number one, she's a teacher. She's taught me over the course of the last year and 2 months about what different food does as a fuel. And what's been interesting, Bobby, is that initially I got used to the pattern of my metabolism, and MetPro will teach you very quickly to track your metabolism and understand what different foods do to you, because we're all different as we have different body builds. And I realized that I could eat a donut on Saturday and I could shed any negative repercussions of that by Monday afternoon, probably. And initially that was my MO. I go, okay, cool. I can go ahead and have this donut and I'll do it. But you know what I found out since then? And this is this continuing education of Joe with Jessie and the MetPro team about how this works. Sure, I'll shed the pounds, but when I put crap into my body on Saturday, I am so suboptimal at a time when I want to be having fun with my family. Instead, I feel tired. I feel sluggish. I want to take a nap. I don't work out like I should. And I just feel awful. And I've learned more that I don't want the donut like I used to want the donut. You can do one of two things. You can work with their concierge service, or they have a new app where you get all of the tools, but for a fraction of the price of the concierge. So if you're like me and you need that push of a real person, MetPro brings that. But if you're somebody that needs tools that aren't based on fad diets, MetPro's app is the definitely the way to look. So if you're looking for a high touch experience working with a metabolic expert, or you want to access the tools their industry leading coaches use, visit metpro.co. It's not .com, it's .co. metpro.co/MWF to take their assessment and speak with their team to learn which option is best for you. By the way, our Money with Friends will get 1 month free when they sign up. Either way, head to metpro.co/MWF to take advantage of the opportunity. Good time to do it, by the way. Angelo, I said this on Saturday's show, Angelo Poli, the founder of MetPro, he's worked with people like Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. He's worked with a lot of celebrities. He said the average person gained 7 to 12 pounds during the holiday season from Thanksgiving through New Year's, 7 to 12 pounds.
Joe, I didn't know you've been spying on me.
Last year I stayed flat, which was amazing. Anyway, all right. What is our takeaway from today's piece, Bobby?
I think, get cash when you can. I regret not pushing to get cash with this airline tickets in the spring because I thought I would use them. But so far, now it's like a homework assignment because I got to make sure to keep track of the credits that I have. And I'd rather just have less to do. So get cash when you can.
Yeah, and I think this is the time. This is the time to know what the fine print says before you go in. Any travel you're going to do, know your fine print. And I wouldn't just ask a person. I would have that in writing. Usually, Bobby, I'm the kind of person I feel very comfortable asking the representative, but not now. Now, when you're going to put some serious money on the line for a trip, even though flights are discounted now, before I do anything, I want to know how easy it is to back out.
Absolutely. And just be really safe if you do choose to fly.
Absolutely. People can help us make the show, Bobby, as tomorrow you and David Bach are going to be here front and center. How do people help with that one?
Stay close to our Instagram at Money Friends Pod. In the stories, we put up questions and polls and quizzes that you can be part of and maybe get a shout out on the show. You can also learn more about the show at moneywithfriendspodcast.com. We feature all of our thought leaders and collaborators, and you can learn more about them and all of their various projects.
Thanks to everybody for hanging out with us again as we head into our last week of live shows for 2020. She's Bobby. I'm Joe. We'll see you next time back here at Money with Friends. Bye-bye. 16.
Perfect.
Bam.
Bam.
All right, guys.
Oh. Good audience today. You guys were amazing. We had a big audience. I love it. And chatty.
We were actually,
they're like chatting with each other.
yeah, they are.
They're giving each other travel tips.
We were on this flight, Sarah, to your point, this flight that I was just looking at was half the price we would normally pay, which was incredible. Big yawn, big Bobby yawn.
Sorry. Yeah. It's early.
It is early.
It's earlier for you.
Yeah. 8 o'clock. And I get to go do a Stacking Benjamins episode now.
But you love that.
And then a couple interviews, not as much as I love this, but then a couple interviews. I'm interviewing the guy that ran Honeywell for a long time, David Cody, today. And I'm interviewing a woman who is a multi-million-dollar person who was a hairstylist in a small town, and just did a great job of saving her money.
You find such great guests.
It's going to be a quirky day, and they're back to back, right? So that's going to be 2 totally different interviews, which is going to make it fun. But
awesome.
All right, Bobby. Hey, everybody.
Bye, guys.
We'll see you guys later.